But meanwhile, the trade of trades, Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets. Sham Charania reported Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, 5 second-round picks, and this year's first-round pick, which was the 10th overall pick, to the Houston Rockets gave up all those draft picks to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant is going to be 37 in September. If you look at the lineup, there's him. I forget who plays the 2. KD would probably be at like the 3 or the 4. There's Alfred Sengun, who had a hell of a season last year, made the All-Star team. Houston is coming off the 2nd seed. They got bounced out in the first round by the Golden State Warriors. No shame there. But to me, I think Phoenix won this one because you have all those draft picks and you have something to look forward to. They also did well by getting a big man in Mark Williams, somebody who the Los Angeles Lakers wanted because they tried to get him in a trade, but it was reneged due to him failing his physical. Correct me if I'm wrong, champ.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
So I don't know what Kevin Durant could do at this point. He still can play. Don't get me wrong. He still can give you 25, 26. But is it going to be enough in order for Houston to win a championship? Now, if this were the Kevin Durant 5-6 years ago, okay, maybe you have a chance. But I don't know about Houston in the West when they're still OKC. Denver, I'm not going to rule out Denver because of Jokic and Murray. We got to wait and see who they're going to get as a head coach. The Lakers, we got to wait and see what the Lakers are going to do. But with the new ownership, we expect them to flourish as opposed to the Buss family with Jeannie and Jim. I still think Phoenix won this one. Now, Phoenix, they're going to have to decide what they're going to do because they have a lot of twos with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Jalen Green. They're going to have to give up a trade. They're probably going to give up Bradley Beal. So I still feel like Phoenix won this one because you have all those draft picks. You have something to look forward to. As for Houston, I don't think landing Kevin Durant at this juncture is icing on the cake in order for them to win a championship. They'll get you to the playoffs, maybe the conference semis, but it's not enough, in my opinion. So, BRF, I'll let you go. What were your thoughts on the KD trade and just the trades in general?
Houston, to me, as currently constructed with KD, is still a top 4 seed. They're still a top 4. Because, you're losing Jalen Green, who's a good player, but he's an overrated player. Dylan Brooks, give you some defense, can shoot the ball, but not like, oh my God, we lost Dylan Brooks. Like, oh my God, stop the presses. It's not that big a loss. And then the 5 second-round picks, maybe you could possibly bundle them up for something else. I don't, it depends. Do I agree, Phoenix? Yeah, I agree. I would say Phoenix won the trade just off of acquiring assets that could ultimately, build your future if mortgaged and, utilized correctly. But like if you look at the current Houston rotation, you kept Van Vliet, so he's your starting point guard. More than likely, it's probably going to be Amen Thompson at the 2, probably KD at the 3. I guess I don't know. Your power forward. They're still pretty high on Jabari Smith Jr., so he'll probably start at the 4. You got Sengun at the 5. So it's a good. It's not like it's a bad lineup. It's a good lineup. It's a lineup with that depth they still have in Houston. It's a lineup that should get you to the playoffs and should have you competing for. They should. the roster Houston has should not be competing for the play-in. They should be competing for a top 6 seed for the playoffs. They should not be anywhere near the play-in. They should be competing for a top 6 seed. Exactly, especially with Ime Udoka, especially with him, especially with Ime. He is still one of the brightest minds at head coach in the league. He is still really good. So yeah, they still have him. So yeah, they definitely should still be a contender for a top 6 seed with Ime Udoka as a head coach. As far as all of the trades in general, I mean, sound like a home all I want to, but you're not. My favorite trade is what Atlanta did. I feel, as a matter of fact, Atlanta really over the last 2-3 days, in my opinion, as far as the franchise, has done the best work of any franchise. Has done the best work, and it really boils down to one. You look at Kristaps Porzingis, and I talked about it in my video that I made the other day. Yes, it banks on his health, and it always is going to bank on his health. But if Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, the Atlanta Hawks are one of the scariest teams in the Eastern Conference. They are one of the scariest teams in the Eastern Conference if he stays healthy. Because your potential starting lineup is Trey, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson at the 3, KP at the 4, and Okongwu at the 5. That's scary. And I saw a stat that Trae Young and Kobe Buffkin, who's going to be coming back as his backup point guard because he suffered an injury last season, they're the only 2 players on that entire roster that are shorter than 6'6". I mean, I don't know who decided to wake up and walk into the Atlanta Hawks front office and bring common sense with them as far as how to build a roster around Trae Young. But they have finally gotten this roster construction correct with Trae Young at the point guard. You got a lot of big bodies. You got a lot of athletic bodies. You got a lot of guys that can shoot. You got a lot of guys that can run the floor, play defense. They have finally constructed this roster to hopefully fully utilize what Trae Young is going to be able to do in terms of his playmaking. Yes, is the offense still a lot? Yes, does he cause the offense still be a lot heliocentric with him? Yeah, he still causes that. But as long as guys like Jalen Johnson and Zach Reese-Shea, who's now more than likely going to be your 6th man, who was only the runner-up in Rookie of the Year voting last year, he's your 6th. I think, from what I understand, Karis LeVert wants to stay, so more than likely you're gonna sign him. And then the draft Asa Newell from the Georgia Bulldogs at 23. When you wanted him at 13, you take the 13 pick, you give it to the New Orleans Pelicans, who I swear to God, whoever is running the New Orleans Pelicans front office need to be shamed, because I'm telling you, the Atlanta Hawks should thank the basketball gods that they get to make deals with the New Orleans Pelicans, because
I don't know what Joe Dumars is doing in New Orleans, man. And Joe Dumars is a good executive. I understand.
He's a really good executive.
I understand he gets a lot of criticism because of the Darko Milicic, taking Darko Milicic with the 2nd overall pick over Carmelo, Wade, and Bosh. But in this draft,
like you, and it's not just the fact that you gave the Atlanta Hawks the 23rd pick. I mean, not only did you let them drop 10 spot back and get the guy they wanted, you give them an unprotected 1st round pick. To the chat. Basically, what this is going to dictate: whoever plays worse between the Milwaukee Bucks and the New Orleans Pelicans, that's who the draft pick Atlanta's going to wind up with for 2026, which means Atlanta could make the playoffs. Whether they win a championship or not, they could win the playoffs, make a good run, and possibly have a top 5 pick for 2026. Somebody do something with the New Orleans front office, please. Because I feel like Joe Dumars has too much sense as an executive to make some of the moves that he's made. It's almost like he's trying to trade them out the city or nothing. I don't know what he's doing, but it's like the Atlanta Hawks should thank the New Orleans Pelicans every day for the last like two really, really big deals they've done with them, because Atlanta fleeced them before last season. The DeJounte Murray deal, where they brought back Dyson Daniels, who won most improved player and was runner up for defensive player of the year. What are we doing, New Orleans? What are we doing? What are we really doing? Like,
who was drafted by the New Orleans Pelicans, and I did a video on this on TikTok on how he was one of the exciting players I was looking forward to, because he got good NBA size, needs to work on his jump shot a little bit more, but he provided defense, and they needed somebody to replace Lonzo Ball because Lonzo Ball moved to Chicago. Yeah. Now he's in Atlanta with Trae Young, and
thriving.
You talk about it, BRF, with Porzingis, assuming if he can stay healthy, him and Okongwu, that's going to be an exciting front court, because all KP's going to have to do, just stretch the floor, hit some perimeter shots, provide the rim protection. Okongwu is capable of giving you a double-double. There should be no excuse for Trae Young not to evolve or flourish with this team. And if he doesn't, then that's really on him, because the Hawks so far, they've done their homework. Remember, because at one point it was either him or DeJounte Murray. Which one are we going to keep and build around? They wanted to keep Trae Young.
Which was the right move. It was the right move. I'm not keeping, even when it was a debate, I'm not keeping DeJounte Murray over Trae Young. Even when it was a debate, ain't no way. Because even if DeJounte Murray being a better defender than Trae, he's nowhere near the offensive force that Trae Young can be on a nightly basis. Nowhere near. So that was the right trade when the debate started. And because people tried to make a debate, and I'm just listening, and I'm just like, y'all, some of the people were saying like, no, we need to keep DeJounte, and I'm just looking at them, I'm like, y'all really want to do that? DeJounte over Trae, y'all really want to do that? Y'all really want? I mean, okay, hey, if that's how y'all feel, and now fast forward, and now DeJounte Murray didn't even play last year. He hardly played last year because he was hurt, and Trae Young had his best season of his career from an assist standpoint. So the main thing with him, he has to stop taking those dumb threes, them logo threes. I mean, you can take them every once in a while when you're feeling yourself, when you're smelling yourself a little bit, you want to heat check it a little bit, but the rest of your team has to be playing well around you to allow you to take those shots. You can't shoot them out of a rhythm. You got to be in a rhythm with the rest of your teammates taking shots like that. You just can't shoot them out of a rhythm. You can't do. You got to lay that. You got to lay off of that a little bit.
The problem is, BRF, early on in Trae's career, the knock on him was the shot selection. Trae, despite the stats, Trae is not that bad of a shooter. He can shoot the three. He could be a better shooter if he did a better job of his shot selection. BRF, he's a lot better when he's hitting the floaters. When he starts getting to the floaters, that's what he also does well. And with him and Porzingis, there should be no excuse for him and Porzingis not to have any alley-oops or slams up in the ATL. So
they're gonna run. They're gonna run the offense. I mean, the one thing Trae Young's gonna be able to do, like whether it's Porzingis or whether it's Okongwu, whether it's Ricochet, whether it's Jalen Johnson, whether it's Gueye off the bench, it don't matter. Somebody catching something. And that's what. And with as wide open as the Eastern Conference is going to be going into 2025, you got teams like Orlando making moves. You got teams like Atlanta making moves. You're still going to have the Knicks. You're still going to have the Cavaliers. We don't know what Boston's like. I feel like now
it's wide open. It's wide open.
It
And the
is
reason
because
why
now,
it's wide
now
open
you're
because
hearing them
the
talk
Knicks, they
about
still haven't
now
even
you're hearing
found a
them
head
talk about
coach.
Jerry White and Jaylen Brown. Yeah, so it's like,
Not only that,
I don't
BRF,
know.
the Knicks still to this day, they still haven't even found a head coach. And Champ and I, we've been on the record saying, well, hell, why can't they get Michael Malone? Now, they reportedly tried to get Ime Udoka. That wasn't going to happen, especially the year that he had with Houston. Jason Kidd, it just seemed like to me they just wanted to try to get Giannis because of
Yeah.
Jason Kidd. So
hmm
it should be New York to lose, really. But Atlanta, they're doing their thing. And not to mention, it's wide open. Orlando, they had to give up all those draft picks for Desmond Bain, even though Desmond Bain is a solid contributor. But was it really worth giving up all those draft picks? I mean, hell, the Lakers, they didn't even, the Mavericks didn't even get that much just for the Luka trade.
Yeah, not to mention having to part with Cole Anthony and KCP in that trade.
Thank you.
Damn.
So yeah, man. Hey, I'm extremely looking forward to the Eastern Conference. I don't think I've been this excited for the parity of the Eastern Conference in a long time. Like, and when it was like the days of just up, LeBron's in Cleveland, up, yep, we know they're going to the finals. Now it's like you got the Knicks, you got the Cavs, you got the Magic. I mean, you got the Bucks. I feel like if Boston just keeps Jaylen Brown and Derek White, they can still do a little something. You would think. It's just, man, the East is so wide open. I mean, we could say this is the Knicks to lose, but I always feel like when the Eastern Conference is like this wide open, it's never a 1 or a 2 seed that wins it. Or makes the most noise. It's like a 4 seed, a 5 seed, a 6 seed that just comes out of nowhere. And a team like Orlando or Atlanta with the matchup problems that they're going to be able to present anybody on any given night. Hell would freeze over if we had an Orlando Magic Atlanta Hawks Eastern Conference Finals. Hell would freeze over. But you know what? The way 2025 looking, it would not shock me at all.
And can you imagine what the NBA on NBC, now that it's back on NBC, the types of stories that they're going to have? So hopefully we don't have to hear any more controversy and stuff like that. Now we can just get into the basketball standpoints and the
Right.
storylines.
Yes.
So they're going to probably do a lot of coverage regarding the East. We know they're going to do coverage in the West, but with the East, I mean, hell, anybody got a chance. I mean, shit, Champ got a better chance going on Nutrisystem or on Weight Watchers as far as I'm concerned. So that's how it is right now in the East.
Hey, long as you don't put me on Ozempic, we good. But
Y'all had me throw the goddamn phone, boy. Ah, man.
long as you don't put me on Ozempic, we good. But
Boy, PSP had me throw the phone, bro. Oh my god.
So, isn't it ironic? With Atlanta, the first thing that gets better with both basketball teams, the first thing they got better was the front court. Isn't that ironic? The first thing they got better with the Atlanta Dream, which is they're close to beating the
Minnesota
Lynx right about now. They're very,
Hold
very
on, they're
close.
about to beat them?
Yeah, they're very, very close. So about 30 seconds left, they up by 2. So I'm hoping.
Shoot.
So yeah, the first thing they got better. Number one, BRF, you didn't already cooked all the food and you didn't already cooked everything. So let me go ahead and get my leftovers. I think Houston won that trade. I think really the Houston won that trade. Even if they only make it to the Western Conference Finals, they won the trade. Why do I say that? Phoenix is so incompetent. They don't know what to do with these picks. They don't know what to do with the team. This owner is a relatively new owner, but he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm going to just give an analogy. You can give one person a Uzi and another one a revolver, and it matters who gets the shot off first. It doesn't matter who has the superior weapon. And that's the thing about Phoenix. They don't know what they're doing. That ownership doesn't have a clue. So that's why I say even if Houston only makes it to the Western Conference Finals, they've won. I don't believe it's only a matter of time before Book asks for a trade.
Yes.
If I'm him, I'm asking to get the blank out of there yesterday. You traded the core less than a year after we made it to the NBA, less than like 1 or 2 years after we made it to the finals. You fired Monty Williams. You did all of that and restructured the organization. Then a new ownership comes in, and then we go out and get a bunch of shooters. I'm already a scoring machine already myself. What I need 2 other shooters for? Did you see how we made the NBA finals? I had a rim protector. I had a facilitator. I had guys on the wing that could help me shoot, but I was the main shooter.
Not to mention a point guard in Chris Paul.
Yeah.
They could play defense.
Exactly. And even with Deontay Ayton at a certain point, although sometimes he was a liability on defense, that was still a rim protector that can help you in situations. So with this organization, I don't know what they're doing. It's like, yeah, you got some good names on your team. You got some good players on your team. But what are you going to do with it at a certain point? What are you going to do with this arsenal? Are you going to trade Bradley Beal? Is he even tradable at this point? So Houston won. Now, I'm hoping that this can be the legacy maker for KD, because if he wins in Houston 20 years to the day after Clutch City, 30 years to the day after Clutch City, then, hey, Houston winning a title, that's equivalent to Atlanta winning a title. And look, and can you imagine if next year we're looking at the finals and it's Houston versus Atlanta? Can you imagine that?
We're gonna go back to this. We're gonna go back to the offseason. We're gonna look at the moves that were made, and we're gonna be like, ding. So what happens when you have a competent front office.
Exactly. But even if the Houston Rockets make it to the Western Conference Finals and lose, they want to trade. Phoenix doesn't have a clue what they're doing. They don't know a broomstick from a mop. So,
but do you trust Kevin Durant's health at this point, champ? Even though we've seen him recover from the Achilles, but 37 years old, how much does KD have left in the tank? And not to mention the West, because Oklahoma City, it was reported he didn't want to go to Minnesota. Okay, but we can't disregard Minnesota, and they just took care of Naz Reid. They gave Naz Reid a 5-year, $125 million contract. Your Lakers, okay, Denver. Now, it's not going to be easy, champ. I understand if you want to say, hey, Houston won this one because, again, we have Phoenix's new ownership is really not going to do much unless if it were like a different ownership. Yeah, you would probably say the Suns would win. But do you trust the Houston Rockets at this point for them to compete? They're going to be very exciting. Don't get me wrong. With that lineup and with their bench and with Ime Udoka, they're going to be very exciting to watch as a team. But do you trust KD at this particular juncture? I don't know.
I do personally. He hasn't, as long as he's been healthy, which has been good the last few seasons, he hasn't declined. I understand the reason why he hasn't been mentioned as far as his longevity, as far as his health and stuff is concerned. He hasn't been mentioned with LeBron simply because he hasn't been going to the playoffs and winning. That's the reason why. So the thing is, if you really want to talk about production, KD has done that. And like I said, with Ime there, Coach Ime Udoka there, he's going to put that team in the best position in order to win. And it looks like to me last year, the only thing that they needed was another score because some of their quote-unquote scores disappeared during that first round. So they needed
Jalen Green, we looking at you. We looking at you. That was one of the worst playoff performances I have ever seen from a player expected to take a jump and a leap. Jalen Green, boy, you might have. My God, Jalen Green looked like Seth Green out there playing.
I'm trying not to mention name, but I always with you between you, Flash, and PSP.
He did, bro. He did. I have never in my life seen a disappearing act that bad.
He didn't play
Like,
well. He didn't play well at all, champ, in the playoffs.
And they went to 7 games with Golden State. That's what makes it even worse. They went to 7 games, and because of him, like, you went to 7 games. Like, what are you?
And he averaged around 13.3 points, 5.4 rebounds, around 3 assists, shooting 37.2% from the field, 29.5% from downtown. Meanwhile, 66.7% from the free throw line.
He sucked. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was horrible. God. Just, I'm like, bro. When I heard about the trade and I heard Jalen Green was involved in the trade, I'm like, yep. Least surprising thing I've seen all week, because it's like after that series, Houston felt like they lost all faith in him.
Yep. And they needed more scoring, and they needed somebody who's going to be able to. And look, KD is a scorer that doesn't need the ball all the time. He's an off-the-ball scorer. That's the greatest thing about it. He doesn't need to be a ball-dominant player in order to dominate a game. He can shoot. He doesn't have to have the ball. He can spot up in the corner and be a Danny Green, and he can be ball-dominant when he needs to be. He can take over a game. We've seen that.
No, we've seen that, champ, but will it play out? That's the thing.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, and then I'll add.
With Ime, I think he can. And like I said, I know that I don't think we're talking about the East. I don't think we understand how much of a significance that the West is wide open right about now because of some of the coaches that got fired. Mike Malone got fired, and he just coached you to a championship. You saw how bad the chemistry was off during the playoffs. Memphis just lost their coach, and they just lost Desmond Bain. So there's a lot of questions about the West as well. How good is the Lakers really, or are they just a flash in the pan? How good are they? Look, the only sure thing in the West right about now, my humble opinion, is SGA and the Thunder. They just won the championship. A lot of other teams in the West have a lot of questions around. A lot of questions. And so when you think about all the questions that is around the West is wide open as well. I really can't say that hey, the West is going to be dominant. The rest is going to be there's so many questions. We know the players are going to be dominant. We know Jokic is going to get 30, 10, and 10 and average that. You know that SGA is going to do his thing. You know a lot of other players are going to be able to, produce. You know John Morant is going to be flashy and he's going to produce. But how well your team success is going to be with the firing of these coaches and with the losing of these players. Desmond Bain was a big piece to that Memphis Grizzlies team. They even had him and John Morant on NBA Jam shirts. So, yeah, you have to ask yourself a lot of these questions. There's so many questions around. I've never seen a season outside of the Last Dance season, and that was just involving one team. Let's just be clear. But it affected the entire. I have never seen an upcoming NBA season where there's so many questions going on around that we're not going to know the answer until probably mid-year next year in the All-Star break because there's so many questions. And if you ask me, the only sure thing right about now, one of the sure things right now is Ime Udoka's coaching and Kevin Durant, he can score. And that other team, they didn't give up a lot of key pieces on that team. They kept the young core that they had. They kept the core that they had, and they just added a magnificent score. And so, hey, there's nothing's for sure in the great words of Sting. Nothing's for sure in the NBA right about now. And it's going to take us at least about the first 2 months of the season to figure out what exactly is going on. Because we talk about the NBA, we talk about the East, the whole NBA is wide open. Parity is reigning. We could, like I said earlier, we could very well see Houston versus Atlanta next year in the NBA Finals. On looking at how things are going. because the whole NBA is wide open. Coaches have been fired. Key pieces of teams have fallen to the wayside. It's a lot that has been going on, and we're not going to know the true effects of that until mid-year next year. It's exciting, to be honest with you, though.
Oh, it's
anything you want to add?
Yeah. The reason why I do trust KD as far as being able to withstand, as far as like a long season like that, is I feel like at this stage in his career, with his skill set, even though he's not what he was 3 years ago, let alone 5 years ago, but the man is still a walking 26-6.
Yes.
I feel like Houston offsets him being 36 going on 37. Houston offsets that with the depth they still possess. You still bringing Tari Eason off the bench. You're still bringing Jayshawn Tate off the bench. You're still bringing key good pieces off the bench that's going to allow him to sit and rest when needed. And you didn't have that in Phoenix. You just didn't have that in Phoenix. I mean, it was like because it's like Phoenix was so dependent on their offense and their scoring. It's like they had no defense to offset anything, and they're getting in shootouts every night, but they just weren't winning because the defense was just so bad that the opposing offenses they were going up against just made more plays and just took them out. I trust Houston more in that sense to allow KD to rest up when he needs to, and then I was like, I'm not expecting KD to play like 82 games next season. I don't think nobody is, but if I can get like
55,
if I can get like if I get like 65 games, if I get like 65 games out of KD with the depth they had, and then you just look at them and just say, you give me 60 to 65 games, and then you be ready for the playoffs, and then we just go from there at the end of the day. So I trust the situation in Houston around him more than I did in Phoenix, which is why I have the coaching. Like I said, it's the coaching and the depth and just everything around him. I trust that more in Houston than I do in Phoenix, which is why I have a little more faith in KD playing up to par and maintaining a high level of play. Which is why I think Houston still. I mean, they were the second seed in the West with that roster as the way it was constructed. So I don't see any reason why only losing Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks will cause you to fall off that bad. They should still be in the top 4 conversation.
I think they'll be there, but again, I just think with KD at this point, I don't expect KD to be playing that much, but at the same time, the window is almost closing because you went to Brooklyn, that didn't work out. You went to Phoenix, that didn't work out. Now you're in Houston. I do not expect a championship in Houston for KD. I understand if you want to say Phoenix didn't win because even though with all those draft picks, do you trust the new ownership at this particular juncture? No. But at the same time in Houston, okay, yes, I believe Ime Udoka is going to put KD in the best situation to succeed and flourish. But at the same time, come playoff time now, KD's going to have to show something. I believe he's going to be rested, but again, it's not going to be easy for him, even though you say it's wide open, champ. But at the same time, I still can't disregard what Jokic and Murray do come postseason. We can't ignore, remember, in Phoenix, we can't ignore what Anthony Edwards did to him in the playoffs. We can't disregard that. And with the Lakers, even though there's some things, they still got to address the big man issue, but Luka, off to a tremendous offseason start. Look how the way he's been doing as far as his conditioning. And with LeBron, we know he's going to stay ready. And I think, with JJ Redick, who did a hell of a job with the Lakers this year, I think that it's not going to be easy for Houston. I see them making at least to the conference semifinals at best, because again, they're still a relatively young team. The reason why they lost, yes, because of Jalen Green, because compared to Golden State, they're still a young, inexperienced team compared to Golden State with cohesion, with culture, with ownership. We still can't disregard Golden State with what they're still going to do with Steph and Draymond. And then Dallas. That's another interesting thing. Cooper Fly getting drafted with the #1 overall pick. Kyrie's coming off the ACL. We gotta wait and see how he works out. Anthony Edwards. Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony Davis. I apologize. Anthony Davis. Even though he has durability issues as well, too, but still, he's capable of giving you a double-double performance. So it's not going to be easy. I can understand Houston. Okay, you gave up Jalen Green, you gave up Dylan Brooks. Not surprised with Dylan Brooks. Jalen Green, if you want to say, hey, we needed a score, we wanted a more efficient score, and yes, KD as opposed to Jalen Green, I could understand from that standpoint. But it's not going to be easy for Houston either, because regardless of the head coach, you still got OKC in the way, and Jokic and Murray. I believe if once they handle the head coaching situation and once they get some players, they moved. I think Russell Westbrook is going to move on from them. Who knows? But again, to your point, Champ, it's going to be open. But KD at this particular juncture, if you told me the KD 3-4 years ago, that would intensify it. But I'm not sure at this particular juncture because KD, what kind of injury he's going to have. And even though he's handled the Achilles injury well, we've seen other players who've had the Achilles injury. It would be more devastating if his game was predicated solely on just athleticism. KD, his game is fluid because he can handle the mid-range game. He's great off the ball. He's great with the three-point range. He can still get to the basket. So I think Houston, they should be at least top 4, top 5 in the West. But it's not going to be easy. As for Phoenix, Frank Vogel, look, I feel like Frank Vogel has been used as the scapegoat. It's just really more the ownership. Because remember, they had to move on from the disgraced owner, Robert Sarver, with his history of stuff that which we all know. Just go look it up. So if the new ownership is going to take time, but with 5 second-round picks, I mean, there is something that you could look forward to. And how are you going to evolve with Jalen Green, who is exciting, but at the same time, very, very erratic and reckless? And Dylan Brooks at this point, he's only there just to give you a little bit of defense, a little bit of shooting, but you're not really asking that much from him. So, but as far as with Boston, I did like the Anthony Simmons trade because you add another scorer there, an athletic player there, because just in case what happens with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's out for the season, Anthony Simmons is young and he can contribute. Now you did lose Porzingis, and how's that going to work for you as far as your front court? Because Al Horford at this point in his career, so Boston, they got issues with the front court, in my opinion. Yeah, you still have Derek White. I like Derek White a lot, but to me, that's how I look at it.